Hey, Fae folk, welcome back. So you might be wondering, Rain, why are you not on camera? Why are we not even looking at like a doll? Why are we just staring at your rather outdated character sprite? And that is because we are doing a different sort of video for the channel today. And I didn't really think that it would benefit from me hopping on camera just to do the intro. So please enjoy again the outdated character sprite that I definitely need to fix. That's not the point though. So for today's video, we are going to be taking a look at doll makeup specifically. This isn't like an entirely new concept. It's kind of like my spin on this concept because we all know that like different dolls brands do have sort of like different typical looks, quote unquote, different things that make them unique stylistically. And that also applies when it comes to makeup. This has been like a thing for a hot minute. I mean, years ago, we had the sort of like Bratz makeup trend, and that was much more like costumey, where people were literally like painting on oversized eyes and lips on their faces, which is like a totally different artistry. That's not what I'm doing today. So I do apologize if that's what you were looking for, but that's not what we're going with. But like people have looked into Bratz makeup in that way, or I know that there have been like filters and stuff on TikTok where it's like, oh, are you like Barbie Bratz or whatever it might be the case? And like, here's Bratz style makeup on you or whatever style makeup on you. And I wanted to do, like I said, kind of my own spin on that. I thought it would be interesting for me to try to do my makeup in 3 different doll styles. So I'm going to be showing you me doing my makeup in Barbie style, Bratz style, and then also Monster High style. Now, none of these are like filmed. I took product photos of like all the different supplies that I use and then like step-by-step photos, just because honestly, I am so blind with how my glasses, like I have to do my makeup genuinely about 2 inches away from the mirror, which makes it extremely difficult for me to film it in any way that would be like helpful or constructive or fun for you guys. You know, like I can't really get a camera in front of me when right in front of me is the mirror. So yeah, I just did take little like images to show you that I will now be narrating throughout. But yeah, we're going to take a look at me doing my makeup in those 3 different doll styles. Specifically, the reason that I wanted to do it this way is just because I do think that like sometimes filters or like trends and challenges are kind of blanket statements, and they don't really take into account the fact that people have different face shapes and different features and different things that can make doing makeup challenging. Like you can't always follow a tutorial exactly if your face isn't shaped the same way as like someone else's. You'll see what I mean as we go through it. But yeah, we're gonna just take a look at me doing my makeup basically in these 3 different doll styles. And I thought it would just be fun to see what looks good on me, what I like, what I don't like, how it differs from my typical makeup routine. So that is what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully it will be fun for you guys. But yeah, let's just go on and jump on into the first one, which is going to be Barbie. So the thing with Barbie is that she's been around for so long. Not that like Bratz and Monster High also haven't had a relative like longevity when it comes to toys, but Barbie has been around for so long and she's undergone so many different eras and transformations and different styles that it does kind of make it harder to make just one kind of cohesive Barbie look. So in an attempt to kind of boil down a few of those eras into one look, I did decide to just really go with Barbie looks and like Barbies that I have been familiar with throughout my life. So we're starting out kind of in like 2000s. I believe this is like the Generation Girl face, the earliest one that I've included in here with like the reference images that you'll be seeing, and then going up through modern Barbies like we see today and trying to just like encapsulate that. Even within that time period, Barbie has undergone a lot of different changes. You'll notice that in the earlier reference images, she definitely has a lot heavier makeup where she might have more of a bold lip and more intense eyeshadow, whereas nowadays it does seem like she tends to have very minimal makeup. So even doing that was like hard enough, but I feel like that's a recent enough time period. Like I said, I kind of just went like within my lifespan to be able to boil it down. So the main things that I did want to try to take away were definitely lighter makeup than with the other 2 brands that we're going to be seeing. Not to spoil anything, but like I do think it's pretty obvious that Barbie has kind of the lightest makeup out of the brands that we're looking at today. So a little bit lighter. I did decide that I was going to kind of lean into the heavier lip than I was the heavier eye makeup, just because I feel like while there was a time period that Barbie had like kind of intense looks on both of those portions of the face, nowadays it feels like it's more often the case that she might get a bold lip, like she might have a slightly darker, or even not necessarily darker, just like a more noticeable sort of lipstick going on. But I feel like her eyes nowadays do tend to still be pretty light. I'm still going to wear eyeshadow, spoiler alert. But yeah, I just decided that like going a little bit heavier on the lips than the eyeshadow would kind of encapsulate these multifaceted elements of Barbie, you might say. So those are the reference images that I was going off when I was like conceptualizing the look for today. For additional like inspiration or just like references, maybe you would say, I also wanted to look up any Barbie makeup collabs. So I have 3 here that I'm showing you on screen. And the main trends seem to be that the colors are mostly pinks and neutrals with oftentimes a pop of blue in there. So I did want to kind of go with that color palette. Again, not to like spoil anything in advance, but I'm not really going like heavy on the pink just because I do feel like modern Barbie has such a neutral face card that like going really heavy in the pink might fit into kind of more of a Barbie core aesthetic, but not necessarily a like proper recreation of a Barbie-esque makeup look. So we're going with like slightly reddish, pinkish neutrals. And now we get to begin the actual makeup process now that you know kind of what I'm pulling from. So here I am, barefaced, hair pushed back a little bit with a headband. I felt so awkward taking like the bareface beginning reference photos. Obviously, they're like necessary for you to see the transformation and the whole process, but I felt super weird. But anyway, look at my awkward little face there real quick while I say I'm not good at makeup in like a technical sense. I do think that I do a decent job of making myself like look the way that I want to look, but in terms of using like the proper techniques or non-expired makeup or even the right product on the right part of my face, not very good at it. So huge fat disclaimer here. I am telling you openly and honestly exactly what I'm doing and exactly how I do it and all of that jazz. But like, don't be an idiot, okay? Don't be like me. Don't be stupid. Be better than me. Don't use expired makeup. Be careful. I think I'm actually going to keep an expired makeup counter in the corner because I think that would be really funny. But yeah, just like the disclaimer here, please do like actually care about your skin in a way that I obviously don't. So the first step is obviously the base of my face. I know that some people do like to do like their eyeshadow first. That's not for me. I cannot do my eyeshadow first. I have to do like base first, and then we can move into like eyes and then lips and all of that jazz. So starting off with not quite a foundation, I have been finding that I've been liking not wearing foundation as much lately. And since Barbie does typically have kind of more minimalistic by comparison makeup looks, I thought we would go ahead and not use like technically a proper foundation. So what I like to use is the Hero Rescue Balm with red color corrector, just because you might not be able to see it like aggressively in the image, but I do have like quite a red face. So I just like to use that to kind of even out the color all across my face and use that kind of in lieu of foundation. So I'll just like put little dots around. I did use honestly high key like more than I needed to with this one, but this is what my face looks like post rescue balm. So just a little bit of a difference, but it just makes me feel more confident to have a little bit more of an even skin tone. Next up is brows. And like technically speaking, I do recognize that I realistically have thicker brows than like most of these dolls would have stylistically. Like Barbie definitely has thinner eyebrows than me. I was not going to shave my eyebrows for this, and I also was not going to try to like block them off. It's just, I'm so sorry. That's just not realistic for me. Because like the whole point of this is not to try to be as accurate as possible. It's supposed to be like, what does Barbie makeup look like on my face? So I wasn't going to alter my brows too much. So the 2 products that I use to do my brows for this look are the Physicians Formula Organic Mascara in black, which yes, I am aware this is mascara. So this is the first incident of me using a makeup product that is not designed to go where I'm putting it. It's also the first instance of me definitely using one that's expired because I've had this tube for too long. But I will say, if you're someone who has like sensitive eyes, if you don't do well with like most mascaras because they like make your eyes itchy or anything, I personally find that this Physicians Formula is like a good kind of, I don't know the ingredients, so I don't want to say more natural, but it definitely is less irritating than some other mascaras. Like I'm not particularly sensitive. My mom is super sensitive and she uses this stuff, so she likes it. So if you want to use this on your eyes, unlike me, it is a good solid choice for if you have kind of sensitive eyes. But I'm using it for my eyebrows because I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I genuinely do not think that there is a difference between mascara and brow gel. I feel like they do the same thing. And like, it's easier to find mascara in black. And like some people who have black hair or dye their hair black don't like their eyebrows to be like black, black. But I do. So that's what we're doing. Usually when I do my makeup, I only use the mascara just because if I'm being 100% honest, which we're trying to do this video, I am way too lazy to fill in my brows more than that normally. But because this is like for the Barbie makeup, I did want to fill in the tails of my brows just a little bit. So I just use a teensy, like thin brush. I think technically this is supposed to be a lip brush, but like I'm using it to fill in my eyebrows just a little bit, just on the tails. And then I just use literally whatever black I happen to have on hand. In this case, it is the Delancey Gothic Clown palette that I'm using, the black shade in there. I just got this shit off Amazon. I don't know if it's good or not, but it has a black that is pigmented enough and it works. And it's actually not expired. So this is what my brows look like after I do them. Next up, we have Blushy Blush, which is usually one of my favorite steps of my makeup. I like am never getting over the 2020 severe blush trend. Like I know so many people are like, oh, that's cringe now. Like you don't need that much blush. I do, okay? I need that much blush. And I'm so happy using that much blush. But I don't get to do that today. So here in this image where I don't look as excited, I'm kind of pointing to where I usually put my blush. I really put it like heavy around my temples and like very high up on my cheekbone. I just feel like I can put like a lot more there. And I like when my blush kind of blends into my eyeshadow. And also I feel like it looks better on my face shape. But for Barbie, she definitely tends to use a much lighter hand with blush than I do. And also a different placement for her. It's definitely more the kind of traditional like apples of the cheeks. So that's what we're doing. I used the NARS blush in the shade Orgasm, which is also definitely expired. I mainly used this one because I did think it was like a nice pinky color for Barbie. And then also just because it's one of the more sheer blushes that I have. Not to say that like you can't build it up and like it can't be a very pigmented blush, but compared to the other blushes that I have in my makeup repertoire, I don't know why I said it like that. But yeah, it's like one of the more sheer ones. So I thought it would be easier to use like a lighter hand with that. High key forgot to take an after picture of just the blush. I'm not a professional, okay? I talk doll shit. I don't do makeup stuff. But you'll see after the eyes kind of the lack of blush. Honestly, I don't even know if you can see it because I had to go really light. So, eh. So moving on to eyeshadow, I did use two eyeshadow palettes for this. One is the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette, and then the other is the Violet Voss Pro Shadow. I'm sure there are like specific names for these specific palettes, but I didn't find them because again, I'm not a professional at this. So here you can see where I've circled the different shades that I ended up using for the look. So I used the darkest shade here for like the kind of crease area and then like blending up into my brow bone. And then I used the two lighter shades. So the darker shade was in like the NYX palette and then the two lighter shades are in the Violet Voss palette. And I did just kind of mix those on my lid. I kind of wanted an in-between of those two shades. So that's what I did. This is very soft, very basic, but this is what we look like. It's definitely not bad. It's just like, it's not a lot, you know? We are going to be skipping out on eyeliner just because I do feel like, especially again with more modern Barbies, like the vast majority of them, I would argue, are not wearing eyeliner. Or if they are, it's like, you could definitely debate whether it's eyeliner or just like a dramatic eyelash. So we're skipping eyeliner and moving to mascara. I am not using falsies for any of these looks, even though you could definitely make the argument, especially for Bratz and Monster High, that I should. But just because of the shape of my face combined with the fact that I do absolutely have to wear glasses, falsies just don't really work for me. Like they've just never been something that I feel like sits comfortably on my eye and they tend to hit my glasses. I know you can get like smaller ones that work with glasses, but I also have hooded eyes, which we are going to be discussing. So like, I just don't feel like falsies work. So we're using just mascara. I'm using the Tarteist Lash Paint Mascara. I don't know the exact shade of this. You might notice from the super small tube. This is actually a sample that I got. I used to have like an Ipsy subscription, if any of you guys are familiar with that, which side note, like it was super fun to try new makeup products, but they refused to give me anything that wasn't like a neutral. It was super boring after a while. So don't have that anymore. But yeah, that's where I got this. So this is also definitely expired, but since it is a sample tube, I couldn't find the exact shade of black, but it's some sort of black. So popping on some mascara so I look a little bit less naked in the eye. And that just leaves lips because I don't really feel like honestly any of the dolls had like a ton of contour necessarily. So we didn't do that, which is good because it's not really something I do in my day to day anyway. I don't feel like I'm particularly skilled at it. So for lips, the first product that I'm using is the Colored Rain Liquid Lip in shade 24/7. That is the bottle that is like less empty that you're seeing on screen. No one's surprised that this is also definitely expired. I honestly don't even know where I got this. I think it was gifted to me like I'm embarrassed to say, but I think it was gifted to me like 5 years ago. So that's how it looks on my lips. And then we are topping that with the second lip product, which is the Basic Beauty Lip Gloss in shade Literally, just because I do feel like definitely Barbie has had like matte looks, shiny looks, all of that. But I feel like more of her more recent ones like had a little bit of shimmer and I wanted to make it more exciting somehow. So this is the final look without glasses on. I'll probably do like a little comparison. I'm literally deciding this as I'm editing, but I'll probably do a comparison side by side of blank face versus me with no glasses on, just because that's like a more direct comparison. But in case you care, this is what I look like with glasses on with the finalized Barbie look. I don't think that I look bad, right? Like I'm not sitting here being like, ew, oh my God, this is the ugliest makeup ever. I just don't think that I feel like myself. The lip is not too terrible, but the eyes I just feel like are so subtle and like it's a subtle color and everything too that again, I don't feel ugly, but I did feel very incomplete. And actually after doing this, I filmed a video and I like added on more makeup because I was like, this doesn't feel like enough. So with Barbie, I do think that, you know, she's got cute looks. I just don't know if it's for me. Moving straight on into Bratz also has a very like long history, definitely not as long as Barbie, but like we have seen a lot of different trends for them. Obviously like original Bratz and even like current Bratz to some degree are kind of, you know, focusing in on that Y2K sort of aesthetic. And key things that I think I like notice the most with Bratz. Obviously, their lips are a big deal. Okay. Like that's a huge thing with Bratz. The lip liner and also like metallic or frosty lips, I feel like is something that I have always really liked about Bratz. I think that they're really like fun and interesting. They do tend to use a lot of sparkle and they also tend to have cut crease makeup to some extent. Like it's not always necessarily like a super intense defined cut crease, and we will not be doing that for reasons I will be getting into. But it does seem like they typically go with the makeup design where they have a different color on the lid versus kind of in the crease, and then usually another color, like a third color on the brow bone or some glitter or sparkle on the brow bone. So those are the key things that I'm trying to take away from kind of these little reference photos that I've got here. With that too, Bratz has also done a few different makeup collabs, and they definitely have a much wider array of like colors that they will use. I feel like Bratz are definitely less afraid to play with colorful makeup looks than Barbie is. So with all of that kind of in mind, I actually did this twice. So the images that I'm showing you on screen here are from my first iteration of my Bratz makeup. And I do think that this is quite cute, but looking at it, I was like, I went way too neutral. Like I didn't intend to go this neutral. I wanted to go kind of more red, and it just like didn't end up turning out that way. Red on the eyes, just to be clear. I understand fully that my lips in these images are nothing close to red. Like I do know that. But like I wanted to redo it just because I didn't think that this was ugly, but I did think that it wasn't necessarily as Bratz as I could go with it. So I'm going to go step by step now with you guys with kind of a second version of a Bratz look that is going to be slightly more colorful to pay homage to the fact that they definitely do not just do neutrals. So here again is my awkward little non-made up face. I was trying really hard not to laugh just because the way that my hair was like curling this day. The headband really made me look a certain way. So I was trying really hard not to giggle in this image. But anyway, we are starting off with the base once again. And because I feel like Bratz have a little bit more of a full glam look versus Barbie being kind of more of a casual look to me, I did want to go with a like proper foundation as opposed to just the color corrector. So I use the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Powder Foundation. What a name, in the shade Pearl. I just apply this with a dry beauty blender. I don't like dab it into the skin like you're maybe supposed to. I don't really honest to God know what like the ideal application of a powder foundation is, but what I do know is that this is what my face looks like when I put a dry beauty blender in the powder and just like rub it on my face until I feel like it's even. And you know what? I think it's an even skin tone, so it works. That brings us to brows, and I did use the exact same products, so we're not going to linger here too much. I'm just going to say that I did use like a little bit more of the eyeshadow to kind of fill it in a little bit more, just because I feel like Bratz do tend to have slightly thicker brows than Barbie. Or maybe I'm just making that up. I honest to God don't know. But then it's blush time. Once again, mourning the fact that I can't put it where I want, because Bratz also tend to put their blush on the apples of their cheeks. Luckily for me and my blush loving heart, how many times am I going to say blush? They do tend to have a bit more of a heavy hand than Barbie. So that was fun. In this case, I used the Violet Voss Make Me blush. I'm debating, and I honestly, probably this is also expired. So add that to the counter, and you can kind of see in this image here what that looks like on the apples of my cheeks. Now you're probably thinking, Rain, why are you pointing at your eyeball? And that's because it's finally time to discuss my eyelids. So if any of you guys out there have hooded eyes, you know it is a struggle to do makeup on your eyes with hooded eyes. Like, it just makes it more complicated. And also I feel like so many tutorials and like information that you find is not made for people with hooded eyes. I also have the super fun double whammy of like a low brow and hooded eyes. So I have like next to no eyelid space. Okay. So the main ways that like you have to get around this, like the biggest tip that I can give for anyone out there who also has hooded eyes and might be like struggling, and like the thing that you're going to see me do here in a second, is when you place your eyeshadow and like you're trying to make a crease, because again, Bratz do have like a cut crease to a semi-cut crease sort of look typically, you have to put it higher than your actual crease. Because if you put the eyeshadow in your crease, when you open your eyeballs, it's gone. Like, you literally cannot see any of it if you have eyes that are as hooded as mine. So that's what we will be doing as we jump into the eyeshadow portion of today's video. So for eyeshadow today, I decided we were going to go with a purple look. I did circle the 2 shades that I used from this palette. This is the Beauty Glazed Color Board. I got it from Amazon, so like, I don't know anything about the brand. I don't know anything about the ingredients, but what I can tell you is that I do feel like these are pretty good shadows for like the amount that you pay. I don't know the exact price because I got this a while ago, like so many of these products. Also, I should say I'm not affiliated with literally any of this shit. Like, I'm not a makeup YouTuber. No one is sponsoring me or paying me or anything. I'm just saying what I like here. So yeah, I like the color board because you do get a lot of different colors. You can see here I've focused on the purple because that's what we're using today. But in the left, you can kind of see that there's also a green bit. So this is like almost a booklet, and there's different like color stories that slide out. So there's green, purple, orangey, and then blue. So you get a lot of shadows, and I do feel like it's like a pretty decent price. Again, I don't remember exactly what, but like it was a pretty decent price, and they have a decent payoff. Like, they're not the most pigmented shadows literally ever, but they're pretty solid. So yeah, we are using those 2 purple shades, and this is what the darker shade looks like in my crease, quote unquote. I do have a couple of different angles here just so that I can show you that I didn't put it in my proper crease. I put it like a little bit above my actual crease so that you can see when I like open my eye, it kind of gives the illusion of that being where my crease is, and you can still actually see the color. But like when I kind of close my eye a little bit more, you can see that it's definitely placed higher than my natural crease. Again, that's just like a way with hooded eyes to kind of give the illusion of a crease that you can actually see, and like getting to see that actual color. So you kind of have to do almost a bit of optical illusion with your makeup when you have hooded eyes and low brows and everything like I do, which, you know, it's a challenge, but it's going to work out fine. So I went ahead and slapped then the lighter color from the color board palette onto my actual lid. And then for the brow bone shade, because like I said, Bratz usually tends to have a lid shade, crease shade, and then a brow bone shade, I did whip out an Anastasia, oh my God, an Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palette. This is the Fall Romance palette. And I used this purple shade that I have circled there for the brow bone, and you straight up can't see it in this image, which is super disappointing because it's a really, really beautiful purple shimmer. Like, it's so pretty in person, and I do feel like in person it was giving very much what I needed it to give, like Bratz brow bone. But yeah, you can't really see it in this image, so my bad. You just have to trust me on that one. And then to round out the eyeshadow look, I went ahead and I used the same black that I've been using for my brows, and I did just like a smidgen of eyeshadow at the very outer corner of my eye, both on the upper lash line and the lower lash line, just because, like I said with Barbie, I do feel like Bratz doesn't necessarily typically have an actual like proper winged eyeliner look. To me, it looks more like just dramatic lashes. And again, we're not putting on actual lashes here. To kind of elaborate on what I said earlier, it's uncomfortable with my hooded eyes, but also because of my hooded eyes, it like takes up space that I don't have that much space on my eyelid. Okay. Like I don't have space to be giving up to lashes. So instead of putting on lashes or drawing on like proper eyeliner, I just use the tiniest amount of the black eyeshadow on the outer corner to kind of just darken it up a little bit, to just make it a little bit more dramatic, so that when we put the mascara on, it'll have a bit more of an effect. So it's not like a crazy difference, but I feel like it helps a little bit. Pretend I'm showing you a picture of me after using mascara, because I definitely forgot to take a picture of that. It's the same mascara, the tardiest one. So there's that. To move on to lips, I am fully aware that like lip liner realistically should go first. I know that that's the traditional application. I know that that's probably the proper application. As I warned you at the beginning of this video, I don't really do proper. So we're going in with a lip gloss. This is the Hikari lip gloss in shade Merlot, which is probably also expired. And this is what that looks like plain on my lips. And then remember this palette? Yeah. So I don't own lip liners. It's never been something that I use in my daily makeup routine. Like I just pop on lipstick and hope that I get a good crisp line. Like I literally do not use lip liner. So I used eyeshadow and the same skinny little baby brush that I used to fill in my brows to do the lip liner. I'm not counting this as another use of the expired makeup because like it's the same palette and I already counted it for this one. So like we're not counting it, but this is what it looks like with the quote unquote lip liner. I did use the darker shade out of the two that I used on my lid to put onto my lips in lieu of lip liner. And like, I'm honestly kind of kicking myself for this one. In the photo, like you can see, I look really not convinced about this. Looking at it now, I'm like, oh, that really wasn't bad, because I really wanted to try to have like a slightly different color on my lip than I did on my eyelid, just because I fall into this weird thing where like, I always end up doing kind of monochromatic makeup looks. I don't know why. It's just like something that's very easy for me. And so I wanted to like not fall into that, which is why I chose more of a pink instead of a purple for the like lip look. And then I did the purple liner because I was like, oh, that'll be a fun contrast. And then in the moment I was like, oh God, that looks terrible. And now I'm like, that really doesn't look that bad. And you probably could have kept going with that, but it's too late now. I just ended up going with more liquid lipstick and I did use purple. So I fell into that monochromatic thing that I always do that I was trying not to do. But like, again, it's too late now. Like I cannot go back and change this. So this is the Clean Color Madly Matte Lip Gloss in shade 1636. I did not know that Clean Color made lipstick. I had never looked at the name on this bottle. You can guess it's expired. But this is what it looked like on my lips. So yeah, God, I'm so sad because looking at it now, I'm like, the first one was definitely better, but this is what I did in the moment. But I do fix it. Remember that Anastasia palette with like the shimmery shadow that you couldn't see on my lid? Bam, you can see it on my lips because like I said, the Bratz tend to have two things with lips that stand out to me, which is lip liner, which I kind of sort of did. And then the like frosted lips. It's not every single one that has frosted lips, but like that just feels so iconic to me. So because I didn't have a frosted actual lip product because I'm a menace, I went back to that palette and I just used my finger because again, I'm a menace. And I just like tapped it onto my lips to kind of give it that frosty look. And honestly, like high key, I think it looks pretty cute. So this is what it looks like without the glasses on. And then this is what it looks like with the glasses on. Overall thoughts on this are I did feel much more comfortable with the like more intense makeup look. It just feels more like me. It probably helps that it like matches the aesthetics that I tend to dress with. Like I feel like part of the reason the Barbie one maybe looked weird is just because like a dyed black side shave doesn't necessarily scream soft makeup. Whereas I think that this kind of fits with my overall look a little bit better. One thing that was really interesting that I was like nervous about when I was doing this was that I typically put eyeshadow under my eye as well when I do my everyday makeup, just like my own style. Part of it is just because I do think that it makes the look more cohesive. And part of it is because I have so little upper lid space that like I gotta put it wherever I can put it, right? So I like to put eyeshadow on my lower lid, like on my lower lash line. And I didn't do that with the Bratz or the Barbie, but like the Barbie was so minimal makeup that hardly counts to me. But I didn't do that with the Bratz because the Bratz do tend to like keep all the eyeshadow and all like the eye look on the upper lid. And I really didn't think I was gonna like it. I was like, oh, I feel so incomplete and so weird. But I put my glasses on and I was looking at this and it was like, oh, that's really not so bad. Like, this is kind of a vibe. So the takeaways are, I liked this way more than I thought I would. I like it more than the Barbie on me for sure. I need to buy some proper lip liner so I can like do it right because I do think that it is kind of a look, kind of a vibe. I also really would love to get some proper frosted lipstick because once again, kind of a vibe. And I don't always need to put eyeshadow on my lower lash line to feel pretty. So lots of lessons with Bratz. And that brings us to Monster High at last. Now, Monster High, I didn't see any like real makeup collabs for. That sounds so mean. I think like at some point they might have done something with like Hot Topic or something like that, but I don't feel like that counts. Okay, so we're not doing that. So instead, we're just taking a look at the dolls. I decided that I would take a look at like the kind of core three characters. So Draculaura, Frankie, and Claudine, and then also Spectra because she's a personal favorite of mine. And I wanted to take a look at both their Gen 1 looks and their G3 looks. Sorry, G2. You're just really not part of the conversation here today. So Monster High is a little bit more difficult just because obviously each monster is like very different. That's not to say that like different Bratz characters don't have their unique styles that might be reflected somewhat in their makeup, but like, you know, Draculaura in G1 at least like has her iconic heart, and like that's not something that's seen on other monsters. Or like Frankie has stitches on their skin sometimes. Like they're like Cleo. I know I'm not looking at Cleo, but like Cleo has specific shapes to her eyeliner that are more of that like ancient Egyptian sort of style. So it does feel like the makeup is a lot more understandably catered to individual characters versus like an overall style. So this was a little bit trickier. But I think that I was able to nail it down decently well across all of the generations. The things that I noticed the most are bold lips, like these curly pops very rarely do a neutral lip. So that was a big thing that I wanted to incorporate. And then when it comes to eyes, I definitely felt like I could get away with a little bit of eyeliner this time. Not every doll has eyeliner, but I definitely think that it's more frequent with Monster High than Bratz or Barbie that we see something that looks like proper eyeliner versus just big lashes, in my opinion. And then the other thing, and this is something that I noticed more with G3, but like we're just going to roll with it because it is sometimes present in Gen 1 as well. But they do tend to have eyeshadow under their eyes as well as on the upper lid. And a lot of the time there are different colors. Like there will be one color underneath and then one color up top. They do oftentimes also have a different color in the crease. So kind of like how Bratz had the lid crease and then brow bone. I was going with Monster High with another like trio, only this time it is lower lid, upper lid, and crease. So that's kind of like the basic tenet of what we're going for. So for this first bit, we're going to go through pretty quickly. Here is just my base, no makeup on. I don't know why I look like I'm giggling. I have no idea what was making me laugh, but I'm smiling, so that's pretty cool. I'm using the same L'Oreal powder foundation, so I'm not going to go over that again. And then for the brows, same situation as with the Bratz. Once again, a little bit more filled in than with the Barbie look, but same like situation in terms of the products with the mascara, the little baby brush, and then just any black eyeshadow. So far, so easy. Now it's time for blush, right? Wrong. No blush. I'm actually so upset. It kind of makes sense that like monsters, half of which are some sort of dead, wouldn't use blush, but like I still needed to complain. So what that actually brings us to is the eyes, and in true fashion of being just like not doing my makeup the traditional like typically accepted correct way, I do my eyeliner first, which like I understand for most people you do eyeliner last so that like it goes over your eyeshadow and it stays very vivid. Like I understand all the reasons that you would do that. For me personally, because of the hooded eyes, and I also like my eyes are two slightly different shapes, it's a lot easier for me to do the super, super precise thing when I have minimal makeup on my face so that if I mess up and have to like restart, there's fewer things that I need to sort of fix. And also, I think that it just honestly helps me have more of a guideline for where I should be placing my eyeshadow in relation to the eyeliner. So, like, is this technically correct? Again, probably not, but like. It works for me. So that's what we are going with. So the eyeliner that I'm using today is the Ayeko Black Magic Liquid Eyeliner in just shade black. This is my favorite eyeliner I've ever tried. I love this stuff so much. I will say if you try it, it does like come out kind of runny sometimes. Like sometimes it sort of floods the tip and you have to kind of be careful to use that. So there is like a bit of a learning curve, but I just personally like it. I feel like the tip is really nice and sharp. I think that the color is really, really deep and saturated. And it also strikes a nice balance between being something that I feel like lasts a long time and also being something that's relatively easy to remove with a cleansing balm. Side note that's like unrelated to this video, but here I am talking about makeup. If you can't tell, I actually really do love makeup. Obviously this is a doll channel and like I don't do makeup right, but I do really love makeup. So just as like a little tidbit, if you want eyeliner that is literally never going to go anywhere, like that you were going to have to work and cry and scream to get off the ColourPop liquid eyeliner, like the pens, that stuff never comes off. I liked it in the sense that I thought it looked good and everything, and like it was easy to control. But that for me was a little too long lasting because I tried several different makeup removers and that shit did not budge. So if that's what you want, use that. But for me, no, I'm going to be using my eye echo. Okay, so starting out for eyeliner, the first thing that I do is I draw like the bottom line of the wing, I guess is the best way to put it. Like the line kind of going out from like the corner of my eye slash a little bit under the corner of my eye. Also, don't like ask me about the expressions I was making in these pictures. I don't know. Okay, I really truly don't know what was going on in my head. But I have like this shown from kind of a side angle and then also the front angle so you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I like to start a wing or like an eyeliner this way just because again, like with the hooded eyes, I feel like people who have different types of eyelids sometimes can get away with just doing like one clean swoop of eyeliner. That's never going to be me. Okay, I need to like put the bottom line as the guideline first, and then the next thing that I do you'd think would be like to complete the triangle of the wing, but no, I then do like the line across the top of my lid, like over or like right on my lash line, which again, I don't know if that's like a weird technique, a weird way to do it, but it is what works for me because that way I kind of have my two endpoints basically, because then I'm going to connect them in the next step. We're not going to talk about that yet. We're getting there. But this way I have like the endpoint where the liner would end on my lashes and then also the endpoint where it like ends on the bottom wing. So that way it's just like an easy like guideline setup basically. I don't know why I spent that much time saying this is how I do my guidelines. And then basically I do just connect them. I do like to do instead of like one eye and then the next eye, I do each step as you've seen, like on each eye, I'm kind of doing them simultaneously. That way it's just a little bit easier for me to make sure that they look even, as you're gonna see in some of these pictures where it's like a little bit more obvious just because you're like in depth looking at the shape of my eyeliner. It is in fact not even, it's just that it looks even when I open my eyes. But like I said earlier, my eyes are two different shapes. So like the actual eyeliner, when I have my eyes closed and you're focusing on it, it doesn't look even. It just looks better like when I have my eyes open. Still not perfect, but it's better. But yeah, basically you just got to connect it and like there's no easy way to put that or like easy way to give tips. You kind of just got to go for it and hope. The only thing I can say is like start light and you can always add on because like if you start heavy and then it's like messed up, that's a lot harder. But yeah, just with practice I've learned like the shape that I can kind of go with to fill that in for my eyes, and so then I have my eyeliner. The only other thing that I do is I use that same black eyeshadow that we've been using this whole video, and I do just like very lightly with a small brush tap it on over top of my eyeliner. And the reason I do that is just because again, y'all are probably sick of hearing me talk about my hooded eyes, but like it's just a thing that I have to like point out when I'm doing my makeup. Like it's kind of a big deal in my little world. But so for me, part of the problem that I have with eyeliner is that I have to use like a thicker eyeliner, partially just because I like the style, but also so that you can see it when my eyes are open. So it doesn't disappear into the hood, the abyss of the crease of my eye. But because of that, the liner does like touch under my brow bone basically sometimes when I have my eyes open. So like throughout the day, it will just kind of end up getting black smudges all over. And that's not what we want, right? Like that's not the look we're going for. So the way that I mitigate that is I do set it with the black eyeshadow because it is like a liquid eyeliner. And then if you put the black powder eyeshadow on top of it, it doesn't like completely eradicate the problem if you're wearing this for a really, really, really long time, but it does kind of help to mitigate it. And it kind of like makes it take longer for that transfer to happen. So I do that like immediately after I finish my eyeliner just to be safe. Like I could probably wait till I'm done with the rest of my eye look, but I'm not playing around. So I just like pop that on, pack it all over on top of the eyeliner to make sure that it doesn't smear while I'm finishing my makeup. And then while I have that black eyeshadow out, I'm just smearing that on my lower lid, kind of like into my lash line, sort of blending my lower lash line with that black eyeliner. This is maybe a little bit of a cop out because this is how I usually wear my makeup. Like I prefer to wear black on my lower lash line and like on my lower lid. But yeah, you know what? I used the cop out this time, okay, with the Monster High makeup because they also usually have like under eye eyeshadow. I was like obviously going to put something there. And so I just wanted to use black because it's my go-to. I think it looks really, really cute. And I still think it looks fine with like the rest of the look. So that's what we did there. And then for the rest of the eyeshadow look, we are going to be popping back to that colorboard palette, this time on like the blue section for my quote unquote crease. You can see that I've circled there a sort of dark, not quite navy, but like a dark blue that we have in there. And much like with the Bratz makeup, I'm not doing quite as full a crease. I honestly don't even know if you'll be able to tell the difference in the images here, but I'm kind of creating that same illusion of a crease slightly above where mine naturally rests with the dark blue, just because, as I mentioned while discussing like the Monster High inspirations there, it's not necessarily always a cut crease, but like it still is semi-frequently where they've got two colors on their upper lid and one of them is on the lid and one of them's kind of more in the crease. So crease color it is. Then on the same palette, but just like a different section of it, this is the more like orangey pinkish palette. It doesn't look pink in the image, but the shade that I have circled is kind of like an orangey pinkish. And so that's what I'm using for the rest of the eye look. So I do use it on the lid and then I also use it a little bit on the brow bone. And I kind of just try to work that in with the navy-ish blue and kind of like try to blend it out. I do feel like as it sort of naturally settled, it looked a little bit better than it does in these pictures about like 20 minutes after I did my makeup. So just add like 10% cuteness to what you're seeing on the screen. And that brings us to lips, which, as I said before, Monster High typically has quite bright, bold lips. Like they very, very rarely seem to do a neutral color. So I definitely had to go bold with this one. And these were the choices that I was sort of considering. I do have very, very bright like pinks that I could have used, but I just feel like, first of all, with the eye look, that wouldn't have matched. But also like, I don't know. I just wanted to do something a little bit more out there, a little bit more exciting for Monster High, and then also to have like a more higher contrast between this and the other like looks that I've done for this video. So these are the ones that I was considering. The one that I had like most wanted to use like prior to doing this, like prior to actually starting my makeup, was the one that I have the arrow drawn and pointing at. You can't really super see it, but it is a NYX lipstick and I really, really love it. It's a beautiful like dark teal color. But the problem is that the way that the product is designed, you do have to put the gloss on top for it to like kind of look right and also for it to have any sort of longevity on your lips. And I didn't feel like that would match because I do think that most of Monster High's lip looks tend to be very matte. They're definitely not inclined to like the shiny frostiness like Bratz is. So RIP, couldn't use that. I'll show you in a second what I ended up using. But first we have to discuss another weird quirk of my body, which is a horrible sentence now that I've said it out loud. This isn't scripted. If you couldn't tell, this is just me like blabbering into my mic. But yes, okay. Another weird thing that I have to deal with when I do makeup, and the reason that I quite frequently end up apologizing on this channel for having lipstick on my teeth is the like wet portion of my lip is really big. And the way that I mean that is like, obviously everyone has like sort of the outer portion of your lip. I don't know what the technical terms are. The part that you like apply the makeup to though. And then the inner portion of your lip that's more in your mouth is like wetter than the rest of your lip. It sounds kind of gross, but there's no other way I can put it. And the wet portion of my lip, I don't know what it is, but the shape of my lips, but it like goes out real far. Like I have almost no lip that isn't perpetually a little sticky. Okay, get it together, get it together. The reason this is relevant is that it does mean that it is harder for me to have makeup stick to that because it does tend to just like slide off because it's not designed to sit on a wet surface. This is so gross. So with more neutral colors, I kind of just like suck it up. And like, because they are more neutral, I can tend to like let that inner portion of my lip just not have makeup on it and it kind of blends in okay with the more neutral colors. But whenever I'm doing like a really, really dark color, spoiler alert, we are doing a dark color lip today, I do something that's a little bit unhinged. So sorry in advance, I think, because I know this one's a tough sell. But I basically like do an anti-lip liner where instead of lining the outside of my lips to like give it definition and keep the lipstick where it needs to go, I put eyeliner all over the wet part of my lip. Which, like, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I know that's an insane thing to say. I actually didn't think it was like that insane until I just said it out loud, and now I'm sitting here doing my voiceover blushing. So this is the same Ayeko eyeliner. This is a different one, just to be super, super clear. I know that I've been like real nasty and dirty and like sharing brushes and shit. This is like a totally different eyeliner that I use to put all over the inside of my lips. And while the one on my eyes was not expired, this one certainly is. I'm a disaster, okay? That's this video. I'm a disaster. So please enjoy these truly horrifying images of me with my inner lip colored with black eyeliner. To be perfectly real, the funny part is that I'm going through all this effort and I'm doing this thing which is like objectively heinous. And honestly, it probably only grants me like an extra 10 minutes before that also comes off. And I have like a butthole lip anyway. So it's barely even useful, but it's something I do. Y'all are getting a real good behind the scenes with this video. Anyway, moving on to like the actual proper lip product. I'm using the KVD Everlasting Liquid Lipstick in the shade Echo. I got this as a gift. I don't even know how old it is, so we're just going to chalk it up to being expired. But it's a really, really nice, like, deep blue color. So that is what we are putting on as, like, the actual lip color. So here I am going to show you, like, just a couple of little images. I just thought like maybe some people might have questions about how someone who has like lip rings might put on their like lipstick, especially if you're like me and you wear like a hoop. I just move mine to the side and do like one half of my lip, and then I push it to the other side and then do the other half. So like in case you were curious about it, if that's not something that you've like ever experienced doing for yourself, that's how I do my lipstick, despite the fact that I have a hoop in my lip. But yeah, this is what the lipstick looks like. And so that brings us to the final look here. This is the completed Monster High look. And I do really like this. I think this is probably the closest to like my actual normal everyday makeup, which, you know, that does track with Monster High being my favorite doll brand. It is a little bit more colorful than I tend to do. I did use like that pinky shade in my eyes, and that is like a little bit brighter than I might normally go. I also, like I said before, do tend to fall into the monochrome, and like I know I have blue on my eyelid also in like the crease, but this is a little bit less monochromatic, so still slightly different than like what I might automatically go to, but it definitely has a sense of like almost comfort and familiarity. I didn't pronounce that right, but you know what I was trying to say. This just feels like it is a little bit different than what I might have picked for my own makeup without any inspiration, but it is very, very close to just what I like to do anyway. But yes, that brings us to the end of today's video. Here are the 3 completed makeup looks side by side, just so it's like a little bit easier for you to kind of compare and contrast them. I thought this was a really, really fun exercise for me to do. It was definitely really interesting to, instead of just walking in and doing my makeup like however I wanted to kind of like be having references that I was trying to somewhat replicate, or at least reference, hence the term references there. I also think it was fun because I did end up doing some things that I don't typically do. I think that while the Barbie was like the most different from my typical makeup look, the Bratz look is actually the one that kind of taught me the most. I felt like the shape of the eyeshadow was a little bit different, and especially with the lips, learning that I do kind of enjoy lip liner, and also I kind of enjoy like the frosted, almost metallic sort of look was interesting. That's not really like how I expected to leave this little experiment, but I'm very happy that I did. So I think overall the takeaway here is that, first of all, I do just in general feel so much better with more makeup on my face. Like both the Bratz and the Monster High makeup, I felt comfortable in, like especially the Monster High makeup, as I said. But both of those felt like totally fine. I felt like I could wear those and I would feel confident. I did not feel confident in the Barbie makeup. And again, I don't think that it looked bad. I think that it's just not really me. And that's something else that I think is so fun, that like makeup is so varied and everyone feels comfortable with like different levels of things. Because I'm sure there are some of you out there who might think that the Monster High look looks perfectly fine, but like you would feel so uncomfortable wearing it. Whereas for me, that felt super comfy. So I don't know. That's not the point of the video. I just thought it was really interesting. We're supposed to be talking about takeaways. Other takeaway is I do think that it is good for me to get out of my comfort zone. I am someone who like really heavily does rely on routine. And in a lot of ways, that is super comforting for me. And like, I'm not saying I should push myself too far to the point where I'm like not having fun, but I do think trying different color combinations or like different styles and shapes that I don't usually do could be super fun. So, yeah. Oh, also, other takeaways that I used expired products a grand total of 17 times. So, like, maybe I should buy new makeup. But yeah, that is going to be it for today's video, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed. This ended up being way longer and way more just like rambly and in depth than I really thought it was going to be at the conception of the concept for this video. So I hope it was fun for you anyway. When I did the poll asking if you guys would even want to see this video, someone did suggest that I kind of do a companion video in the future where I try to replicate exactly specific doll makeup looks instead of like this, where I'm just sort of doing different styles and like seeing how those look on my face, trying to do, for example, like a 1-to-1 replica of like G1 Core Draculaura. So if that's something you want to see, if you guys did enjoy this, if you want me to kind of continue meshing makeup and dolls on the channel, I'm more than happy to do so. Just let me know your feelings in the comments down below. Let me know which one of these looks you think was best for my face, and please try not to roast me too much for some of the weird expressions I made during this video. I can't explain myself. But yeah, I'm finally going to stop talking now. Like I said, I hope you guys were able to enjoy. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.